So let's talk about the Reiki energy itself and kind of how it sits. I need to tell you that Reiki is an art, not a science. So what I am giving you is my opinion of what it is. And if you read internet, if you read other books, if you go talk to other teachers, they're going to give you a different viewpoint. And there is quite a large spectrum. I kind of sit in the middle. I like being in the middle. It's kind of non-committal. Could be a little bit, oh, could be a little bit, oh, who knows. And for me it works. So when I tell you stuff, if it doesn't work for you, you discard it. And you put your own opinion in place of it. So you might take some of these notes and go, yeah, that makes sense, that makes sense. I don't like that one, I'm going to replace it with something else. Because essentially, it's all for discovery. That's the great thing with Reiki. There is no rules, there is no right, there is no wrong. It's all for you to discover what works for you and what is your experience. Does it fit your experience of how Reiki starts to work for you? So Reiki is just a Japanese word, and it means universal life force or universal energy. So the Rei is like the universal, the mystical, the spiritual. Rei has kind of got all kinds of connotations and meanings. And then the Ki is the same as the Chinese Qi or the Indian Prana. So it's our physical energy. So the Rei plus the Ki is our bridging. It's the way we bridge to that universal source, bringing it into physical. That's the kind of meaning around it. So it's not like a trademarked name or anything like this. It's a very common Japanese expression. And as a result, you have quite a stretch of what people term as Reiki. The Usui Reiki system, which is the one that we're learning, is specifically, the lineage goes specifically down to Usui, who founded the system. But then if you start to research on Reiki, you'll see there are loads of other systems as well. So I'm only referring to the Usui system when I talk about this. Other systems of Reiki have different qualities. But it gives you some kind of background. And it does, I think it helps you when you're doing your own healing, when you're healing self and others, because you do get kind of difficult questions that pop up from others, and it helps to put things in context. So in my definition, I refer to Reiki as energy at its purest. And what I mean by that is there is no religion, there's no belief, there's no rules, there's no philosophy attached to energy. It's simply energy. So if we take it down to food, we eat food, we have to chew it, it goes into our tummies, it gets all shiggled around, then the molecules get pushed into our bloodstream, and it flows around our bloodstream available. And little cells at the edge of the bloodstream goes, oh, I'll have some of that, grabs, say, a hamburger piece. I know it doesn't really look like that, but the molecule of food takes it into the cells, breaks it. And that chemical reaction of the breaking releases the energy for use in the cell. Okay, so really basic biology 101, what happens to food? The energy that is released from our food is what gives us energy to do all this stuff. To think, to walk, to talk, to be active. In my mind, and I'm very simple, Reiki is exactly the same thing. But instead of the eating and the digesting and the flowing and the into the blood cells, it just goes straight through my hands into the cells that require it. So the cells around my chest are deciding, do I want this energy right now or not? And they will pull it in. So it's not something that I'm doing. When I put my hands on somebody else, I'm not saying, Reiki, go and find your way into the person and heal them, blah, 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 blah. I could be asleep. I could actually be fast asleep and give you a perfectly good Reiki treatment. And people really struggle with that. Because in our mind, healing is, hang on a minute, I paid you good money for that. Yeah. The idea of a Reiki healing for a lot of people is that you are the healer. And often when we talk about Reiki healing, we talk about healers. So therefore, shouldn't I be doing something? But actually, no. The truth of it is, you're not, the less you do, the better, actually. Because the idea is that the less you are trying to make something happen, the more open you are. The more open you are, the more energy can come through your hands. The more energy comes through your hands, the more is available for the person. Yeah, pretty basic. So we will talk more about the mindset, because there are certain things that you can be doing to help yourself. But as I said, sleep is also an option. You can just like fall asleep and say, darling, just help yourself. It's gone. And I have tried this. One of the things with writing a book is it's all in black and white. So you think, okay, what if someone asks me, how do I know? And I'm lying in bed as I'm thinking this. I'm thinking, how do I know it's automatic? Because in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I don't really know. I haven't really tested this. And then I'm looking at my husband, lying right next to me, who has Reiki. Take his hand, put it on my stomach. Simple as that. The energy is pouring into my stomach. And I'm thinking, good, that worked. Put it back. So really test and try it for yourself. You know, if you have someone at home who has Reiki, try it. My little kids, both have Reiki. They're sitting there watching TV. You know how kids love to put a hand here or a hand here. They like to connect, right? So I'm sitting there watching TV with them, and they sit there and their little hands are on my thigh or on my shoulder. They're engrossed in the TV. They're not watching me. They're not saying, I'm going to Reiki mommy now. Their hand's just there. And the little hands are so hot. It's like they're all pouring through. I can feel it coming through into me. So this kind of automatic way of being is a great a rider for you, like a legal rider. You are not the doer here. You're simply like the hose. So once we start doing the attunements, once the energy starts to flow in you, it really is just a matter of you just being open. Just being open, that's all. And then the energy goes through into the person. The same applies to you. You can be asleep. That's what I said when I said, put it into your lifestyle. Go to sleep with it. And as you are sleeping, the Reiki, the energy is pouring into your body and it's doing the work it needs to do. So when we talk about osmotic, what we mean by that is that when the Reiki is available, the cells in your body are going to take it as they need it. Once it's full, it stops. You might notice this when you start treating other people as well. When you first put your hands on them, there's all this activity, and then it starts to fade. Or you might feel the opposite. When you first put your hands on someone, it takes a while, and then maybe some of the cells underneath these cells start getting excited, and so the pool gets deeper. There's all kinds of weird things that you might start to experience, and just notice. That's all. There's no right or wrong with this, but just start to notice what's happening. That osmosis also means you do not have to direct it. You don't have to guide it, you don't have to tell it where to go. You simply put your hands on the person. Now, some people say to me, okay, well, if I've got a headache, why can't I just Reiki my knee? Osmosis will take it up to my head. Well, that to me is more guided, because osmosis means it will gently go from my knee. First of all, does my knee need Reiki? Probably. As it goes up to my stomach, does my stomach area, does the organs in my torso need Reiki? Definitely. So it's going to be drawn up here and it's going to work. When it's perfectly balanced, it's going to move up to my heart and lungs. Does that need Reiki? Definitely. Etc., etc., etc. So it could be months before the energy gets up to your head. So when we talk about osmosis, it's not osmosis as in where it's needed most. It's literally osmosis as in filling all the gaps on the way. So that's why when we do treatments, we do move hands. We move our hand position specifically, especially if you've got a headache. You want to be Reiki your head. So you direct in terms of where the hose goes. You direct that. But where the energy goes once the hand is on the head is up to what I call your innate wisdom. And when we talk about cells, automatically people think, well, that's physical. But that's also where the mental, emotional, and spiritual parts of you live too. Right? They don't live somewhere else. They're all within your system. So the cells also store emotional energy and mental energy as well. Yeah? So you're doing the whole thing. Holistic. When you start Reikiing yourself, you will notice changes on all different levels. So in terms of physical, in terms of mental, in terms of emotional, and how much difference you notice depends on your icebergs. So even in the headache example that I was giving earlier, if you have headaches and it is for small amounts of reasons, like for example, my temperature headaches, then you'll see a physical difference immediately. And if it is something that actually is bigger, there's deeper root causes of it, then it's going to take longer. But maybe you might notice that your stress levels change. So depending on who you are and what you've got going on for you is how the Reiki will work. And every single person is different. So if you listen to me talking and you listen to someone else talking about their experiences, it'll be totally different case studies. So it really is up to you to build your own case studies as well and check out what's happening for me and how different is it for me. The Reiki flows automatically. And so, as I said, when you're asleep, it's going to automatically flow. If you are Reikiing somebody and you drift off and start thinking about your shopping list, the Reiki's going to flow. You don't have to sit there and concentrate because, frankly, when you're Reikiing yourself, your mind is going to be all over the place. So it's not like a meditation where the benefits come the more clear you are, the more free-flowing your mind is, the meditation then works. If you're sitting there in meditation, or however you do it, and your mind's going, that's not really meditation, right? But with Reiki, it doesn't matter what your mind is doing. And this is a massive bonus for people. This was a massive bonus for me. When I first came to Reiki, my brain did not shut up for a second. For a second. This and that and the other, and blah, 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 blah. But I was still getting a Reiki treatment, so I still felt, even though my mind was going yada, 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 I still felt by the end of it calmer and more peaceful and more rested. It was a really bizarre thing. Over time, my mind now shuts up for longer. And I definitely noticed that, so that's the cumulative effect of it as well. There are moments when there's nothing happening at all. And that's kind of freaky. When it first started happening, I was like, what's happening? Why am I not thinking? And of course, then I started thinking about why I wasn't thinking, so then I was thinking. But there's that kind of moment where you start to spread out those thoughts. And it happens all by itself. You do not have to take up a meditation course. You do not have to go and do something different. You just do your Reiki and you do it regularly. And then you're going to start noticing that these kind of benefits start to happen. Yeah. This automatic kind of flow of energy happens. So you don't have to turn the Reiki on, you don't have to turn the Reiki off. The Reiki actually is on 24 hours a day. And you only start to notice it when you put your awareness there. So normally, during my day, I don't notice the Reiki. But every time I think about it, I can feel it. So it literally is that kind of thing. So it's, in the beginning, I remember when I first started doing the attunements, my hands were literally buzzing the whole time. And I thought, what have I done? You know, I'm going to walk around with these buzzy hands for the rest of my life. This is really irritating. And I'm telling you this now because some of you might experience the same thing. But once you leave the group energy and the class, you're going to notice that it really settles down. And after a couple of days, it settles down. I get these emergency emails sometimes from people, my Reiki's gone. And what it is just a difference in terms of what's happening with your experience in a big group and your experience at home on your own. It definitely tempers. So then the sensitivity, the subtlety all becomes a lot more manageable, so you're not feeling it in your hands the whole time. But as soon as I do a healing treatment for somebody else, obviously, I feel everything. And when I heal myself, same thing. So you'll notice there are differences, and it's not going to drive you nuts. But whenever you focus, you're going to notice it's on. It's always on. So even when you give someone a hug, or when you shake someone's hand, there are this tiny little amounts of Reiki that you're gifting people. It's kind of cute, I think, like a little blessing. Okay, the other thing to notice about Reiki energy is that it is complementary. And what that means is that you can combine it with anything. So you can combine it with any kind of conventional medicine, any kind of pills, if they're on, excuse me, if they're on chemo, if they're taking any kind of medication, also if they're doing any form of meditation as well, you can combine it with that as well. Aromatherapy, face packs are my favorite. You put put the face pack on, you Reiki your face, you get like that heaty sensation. Maybe not. Pregnancy, surgery, before, after. The only thing that I would say is that if the person improved, what would happen to the dosage? And this is particularly true when you're dealing with high blood pressure. So if someone is on high blood pressure medication, there is a very specific dosage that the doctor will put them on. So if you do start Reikiing yourself and you are on blood medication or somebody else who is on medication, the only thing you have to warn them of is to get more regular checkups. That's it. Because if they improve, you don't want them to start overdosing on their medication. And that's the only kind of caveat. And also for things like eyeglasses, I tell people, if you have eyesight problems and you start to notice that your glasses aren't quite working, for the first year I thought, God, my eyes are getting worse. And I went to the optician, they were actually getting better. So I was suffering from eye strain. And now I go every year. And every year it improves. Yeah, it's amazing. So be open to that. Be open to what in my body could improve, and then I'm actually doing something that is overdosing or over-correcting. And just be mindful of that. That's all. And if you're treating people at home regularly, they should be mindful of that too. Yeah. But basically, it complements everything, so you don't have to worry. A lot of times with pregnancy, you have to be very careful towards the beginning and the end, what you're doing and all these kinds of things. But with Reiki, you Reiki right through the whole way. And as soon as the baby pops out, Reiki the baby. And there's never any time when you can't do it, which is really nice. The final thing to be aware of, it is universal energy, so it is limitless. It's not coming from you. People sometimes worry, well, if I Reiki somebody else, I'm going to drain myself. That does not happen with Reiki. It can happen with you. So later we will talk about how to make sure that your own energy is protected. Because there are three elements. There's my energy, there's your energy, then there's the Reiki. And the Reiki in and of itself is limitless. So you don't have to put your own energy in on top. Yes? And we'll talk about that because sometimes, especially when it's a loved one, you want to. So you give them your energy, but that's kind of like you versus the universe. Who's going to be better? Yeah, there's no need to put your own energy into your healing, ever. So the limitlessness, is that a word? Means that you can Reiki as long as you want, or as short as you want, and the energy just pumps through the whole time when it's required.